It's a long delay.
5, the lines are locked. 4, match day is near. 3, the picks are clear. 2, the picks are in. 1, let the show begin. Game on! It's that time again. Game on! Kicks and picks is back again. Game on! Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Game on! The guys are here and ready to go. Game on! Game on! Game on! Game on! The guys are here and ready to go.
Welcome back to Kicks and Picks podcast. As you can see here on the screen, just Scotty and I here tonight. Nick busy with real work, schmoozing for real work, whatever it may be.
Still hot in the Twitter DMs though.
Yeah.
Still getting plenty of Twitter DMs, so can't be too busy.
Yeah, it can't be too busy. But we'll kick it off with some Champions League reaction. We've got the Tyneside Derby, or Tyne-Wear Derby, as they call it in England. First one we've had in quite some time with the relegation of those teams and the re-promotion of those teams. That'll be our feature match, and then plenty of great angles in the Premier League, Serie A. There's a couple things we like, and might pop into Bundesliga at the end. So thank you to joining us, John, always in the chat. What's going on, John? And Scotty, let's kick it off with the Champions League. Obviously, I don't get to watch these during the midweek. You get to watch a little bit, busy with work. But, I mean, for me, as someone who was just looking at scores, not really watching, things that jumped out to me, Atalanta big win against Chelsea, now 5th in the table, which to me is shocking because they were so terrible in the Euros. Yeah. But they still kept it together in the Champions League. They haven't lost in their last 5 in Champions League. They only lost that one to PSG 4-0. That kind of skewed their goal differential to not look so great. They've only conceded 2 since then. Liverpool, your boys, not in the best form, but they got one at Inter that I did not expect. I didn't put any bets in yesterday. I would have taken Inter probably on the money line at home, so I'm glad I didn't. A couple other things that jumped out. Of course, Nick and I were on Karabakh this morning. Tough place to go play.
Of course, you guys are on Karabakh, right?
The whole competition, yeah. Get their whole first result of the whole competition. Benfica, good win against Napoli. Dortmund threw away a three-leg parlay that I had awfully against Bodo, of all teams, who I didn't expect to show up outside of Norway. The big win today was City, of course, 2-1 over Real Madrid. Puts a little more heat on Xabi Alonso. Of course, Arsenal continues to just roll through this competition. 3-0 win at Club Brugge. Only 1 goal conceded in 6. I think 17 scored, I think it was. So, yeah. What do you make of these? Anything that you saw actually watching, or just in terms of the results?
I think a lot of entertaining games, honestly, like for neutrals or even fans of teams alike. Lots of goals, lots of comebacks, right? Like even the Atalanta game, I think they're down 1-0 versus Chelsea at half, came back in the second half, couple goals. Same with Barcelona, Frankfurt. I think Barcelona was down 1-0 going into half, and they came back 2 goals. RIP anybody that took the over in that game, because that seemed like a sure lock of a 5-goal, 6-goal affair.
I thought so, yeah.
But yeah, and then big wins. Liverpool, everything has been written about them, in the last week or so with the Salah saga going on. We got Slot that's basically halfway out the door. They've got all eyes on Xabi Alonso as a potential replacement manager. So like weirdly, I think the Liverpool fans were more interested in the result of the Manchester City game than they were of maybe the Liverpool Inter game, seeing if Xabi will be available sometime soon. But kudos to Liverpool for squeaking out a win, on the road against a really good team. Didn't play incredible. I think they had a good start, good 20 minutes, changed up the lineup a little bit, got both Ekitike and Isak playing. Curtis Jones, I think, had a really good game, basically showing what I think people expect Verts to be able to do in the, advanced attack mid role. But, kept a clean sheet. That's really all you can ask for right now for this team. See how that works going forward. I don't want to say a big game against Brighton because it's in the standings, not really a huge game, but I think it means a lot to like the future of the club in terms of, are they sticking with Slot, or is he going to be kicked to the side of the road? So yeah, good one for them. And then obviously, just mentioned it, Real Madrid maybe in more turmoil than Liverpool, maybe in more trouble. They're still in good position in La Liga, but players kind of giving up on the manager. Reports coming out about players not wanting to, deal with his high energy training sessions, don't want to, do the high press, don't want to, dictate the pace of the game. So a lot of interesting storylines I think are soon to come from that neck of the woods. But again, I think we're at the break now. There's going to be about a month and a half until the next round. Standings are interesting. I think Arsenal are the only team that have really clinched anything. They're good. They can get 0 points from here on out and still get the automatic bye. But otherwise, everybody's still kind of in it. Bayern's still very much in it. They almost blew a game to Sporting. Ended up getting 3 goals in the second half to make that one a little bit easier. But otherwise, everything's still in play. I don't think anybody's really eliminated aside from like the usual suspects. Kairat, Ajax is a little surprising. Villarreal, not too surprising. Those guys probably out at this point.
Yeah. Kairat probably going to be bottom of the table. We were between Kairat and Pavos on the future, and it looks like
Pavos in it. Pavos has a chance to advance. I don't know what they have left in their games, but a couple points and they got it.
Yeah. You mentioned Xabi Alonso players not wanting to play that style. It's tough for a manager. Like Leverkusen's a fairly big German team, but they're not like Bayern or Dortmund, where like, you're bringing through players that have some talent, but they're looking to get to the next level. So they're more willing to play that kind of style, right? When you get to the Real Madrids of the world, those players don't want to work as hard sometimes. They feel like they've made it and there's enough talent to get away without doing that, I think. And it's tough for a manager who, really only big managerial role so far was that role.
Still early in his career.
Yeah. So obviously was a great player and deserves respect from that regard. But some of these star players are, you think of the Vinny Juniors of the world and like those guys, are they going to want to work that way and play that way? And it seems like no. Like you said, still in the top 8 in Champions League right now, and La Liga position not bad, obviously. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes, because if you lose the dressing room, it doesn't matter where you are in the standings, right? Only 4 off Barca is not bad, but once you lose the dressing room, it becomes difficult to keep up, and be interesting to see where they go.
Yeah, and Barca's kind of their measuring stick every year, right? Like, how are we doing compared to them? And if you start to slip a little bit, and it's not like Barca's having this crazy season either. It's not like they're going off on undefeated runs. Like, they're very much vulnerable in the grand scheme of things, but just not going well for Real Madrid right now. And Alonso, and when you have a player like Vinny who can kind of like, there's obviously a lot of transfer speculation about him over the summer about if he's going to move on. It doesn't seem like he's really enjoying his time right now in Madrid. Is he going to go for 300 million to Saudi? If he's not happy, it kind of poisons the well, right? It gets into the locker room, and Real Madrid's not a team really that's going to have like the strong. I would say they probably lost it, right? Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, those are the kind of guys that could maybe control the locker room. Don't have those guys anymore. It's a lot of the younger guys, Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Trent. These are not the guys that you would necessarily be relying on to kind of keep the locker room together.
Yeah, good point. And also, I was just looking at the La Liga standings. A bad result for Villarreal today, 3rd in La Liga, but they went and lost at home to Copenhagen. So
only 1 point for them. They're out.
Yeah, not the best run for them. Usually used to seeing those Spanish teams all advancing.
Well, you know what they're really good at is those are the teams that do really well in Europa. So unfortunately for them, there's no drop down to Europa.
I was going to say,
that used to be kind of like the play there. Is
the Sevilla play. That was the Sevilla play every year. Yeah. And then they would get back into Champions League by winning Europa 3 times.
A great cycle. Great cycle.
Good way to make a little money and then play more to your competition. But it'll be interesting to see way things like that shake out too, because obviously the extra Champions League spot is always up for grabs now. Usually, Premier League tends to, at least for the first 2 years, have a really good strong hold in that. 2 years ago was Italy got it. I believe last year was Spain, right? Got the 5th spot. So
no, England got it.
England, but there's 2 leagues.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
England, Spain.
Yeah. So we'll see how that turns out. Yeah, because they've got Bilbao and Villarreal, the 3 that are usually in. Yeah. All right, let's go over to the big match of the week, the Tyne-Wear derby. I got to check when the last time this was that they actually played this. They have not played outside of the FA Cup head-to-head since 2016 in the Premier League. Their relegations, I guess, did not overlap too much. Because they're not showing any. I would have thought they would have played at some point in.
No, it's been a while.
The championship, but I guess not. Oh, because Sunderland was down 2 levels. That's what it was. Yeah, they were down 2 levels. They were down to League One.
Yep.
So they haven't played since 2016 outside of an FA Cup match. last season, two Januaries ago, which was a Newcastle 3-0 win when Sunderland was still down, I believe, in League One at the time. So this will be a heated one. This is the biggest derby of the northeastern part of England. Newcastle now have like the money. They're kind of they've always been probably the bigger club, at least from what I've seen in my time watching. But
I mean, they have the history, right? They've won
Yeah.
the top flight of England in the 90s a couple times. So they definitely have, the prestige and trophies. I think Sunderland had the stadium, right? Sunderland has the Stadium of Light, right?
Yeah.
And really, Newcastle hadn't really had that kind of revenue stream. But now that they have Saudis, doesn't really matter as much.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. A couple of years ago, you had the Sunderland documentary on Netflix, which I watched, and it was interesting to see. And club that means a lot to that city, and now to have it back, I'm sure this place will be rocking on Sunday morning Eastern time, early afternoon in England. So we enter this one with Sunderland actually above them in the standings by a point. They're
1
down to
point.
ninth. They were, hanging around the top 4 for a while. Sunderland. They've gotten some really good results. If you had told us that they were going to get 6 wins through their first 15, newly promoted side who hasn't been up in the Premier League in quite some time, I think many people would have said, "Wow!" Like any Sunderland fan would have said, "Sign me up right away." Throwing 5 draws, only 4 losses, +1 on the goal differential. Solid start to the season. Newcastle 6-4-5, so just reverse one of those draws with a loss, and they're +2 in the goal differential. So very similar in terms of result. Expectations were a bit different coming into the season, though. So for Newcastle, I'd say this is a bit underachieving so far. For Sunderland, it's definitely overachieving in terms of at least outside expectations on these clubs.
Yep.
What do you make of this one going in, Scotty?
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. I wouldn't say Newcastle are underachieving that much given the difficult summer they had. I think there was a lot of concerns over there. They were trying to get strikers in. Obviously the Isak saga went on all summer. Ended up getting Volkmata, who I think has been really good. I think he's met expectations for what they needed. So, tip of the cap for them for finally getting the right guy. But Sunderland's the surprise. I think, with the history of the last 3 years with, the newly promoted teams coming up and going right back down, didn't have high expectations for them. Honestly, if any of these 3, Leeds, Sunderland, or Burnley, if either of those 3 just stayed up, I think we'd be kind of surprised. So having Sunderland sit in the top half, definitely a little bit taken aback by that, but they've earned it. It's not a fluke. They've been really, sound in their setup. We talked about it last week. They got the right players with Premier League experience in just to kind of help them settle into the new league. And yeah, sitting 1 point above Newcastle definitely adds, I think, a little bit of juice to this game because anybody that wins this is going to, be the one on top coming out of the weekend.
Yeah.
Sunderland being at home, I think, this is a game that the fans are going to be. This is the one that they all circle, right? At the beginning of the season, it's when do we get Newcastle at Stadium of Light? It's going to be December 12th, 13th, I think. 14th. So that's, been on the calendar for many months. They'll be up for it. Probably going to be one of the best atmospheres in England this season. I think the Newcastle one will be similar in nature, but the City Arsenal, City Liverpool matches don't quite have the same pep this year with, where they all sit in the standings. Maybe City Arsenal in the second half of the season will be a little bit better. So I'd have to kind of give my, nod to those 2 right now.
Yeah, and coming off a loss to City, I mean, back-to-back tough matches for Sunderland, right? And they got a result at Liverpool 1-1. Probably should have won that match from what I remember. Had some really good chances. Then lost to City, back-to-back matches, 3-0. It's tough to play those 2 both on the road. But result against Arsenal earlier in the season, 2-2 draw, right? So they're not afraid of going against a club with bigger names. Obviously, in terms of both club and players on the pitch. And they've pulled out points in, historically over the last bunch of seasons, the top 3 teams that have been in the Premier League over the last few seasons. And they've pulled out 2 points out of those matches. So they're not going to be afraid of Newcastle. They're going to have the fans behind them. So the lines, Scotty, are interesting for this one. Sunderland's +225 at home. Newcastle +125 on the road. The draw no bet on Sunderland at home is +125. The over set at 2.5, -110. The under -120. Both these teams kind of teeter on the brink of the under over of that, depending on the match-to-match basis, which might get a good number either way. Um, team totals. Let's just pull those up real quick. You've got Newcastle at plus 110, Sunderland at plus 160.
Yeah.
Where you leaning here?
It's hard to pass on the draw no bet plus 125 for Sunderland being at home, being by large the better team through the most of the season. I know Newcastle's hot, right? 10 points in the last 12, seemingly trending in the right direction where maybe they would have hoped to have been, at the beginning of this summer. But I just think, with the way that Sunderland has been consistently performing, even against some of these top teams, like you mentioned, like Arsenal, they'll be ready for this. They're not going to get punked. They're not going to get caught off guard by like a quick Newcastle start. I really think that Sunderland can kind of keep this game close. And, in a game where you're level in the 60th or 70th minute, I like having the draw no bet protection. And, home team usually has the advantage there with the crowd and the little bit of boost in energy you get in those last 10, 15 minutes to get an equalizer. So unless Newcastle gets out to a really quick start here, takes the crowd out of it, I think Sunderland are going to get a result. Whether or not that's 3 points or one, I'm not entirely sure. Like definitely wouldn't want to go on the money line of Sunderland in this one.
Yeah.
I could see a draw certainly, but having that protection with the draw no bet is perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I lean to that draw no bet because I can see this certainly ending in a draw. But I don't think the Black Cats going to be afraid of Newcastle at all in this one. I expect that they're going to play them similar to what they've played Liverpool and Arsenal, where they just have not backed down. And this time they get the home match. They had Arsenal at home, which when they got a result, but they went to Liverpool, right? And they got the result at Liverpool. So going to Anfield, even with a struggling Liverpool, is still an impressive result for a team like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've mentioned it before on other episodes. Like when you have players like Granit Xhaka who have played in the Premier League and played at big clubs, they're not going to be afraid of teams like this, right? And they're gonna be leaders on the pitch. And if, like you said, if Sunderland hangs around, it all favors them, right? Quick start for Newcastle, it might get a little tough, but I lean to that draw no bet. I don't really have a lean on the total just because
Oh, I do.
I think if it goes Sunderland's way, I think they want to keep it low scoring.
Yep.
Newcastle's been more the over team. So I think if the match plays out in Sunderland's favor, I think we get the under. If it plays out in Newcastle's favor, I think you're going over the 2.5.
Yeah. Newcastle over 2.5 has hit, game total over 2.5 has hit in 8 of their last 9. Newcastle's defense has not been the thing that we've been kind of talking about over the last 2 years, where they had a very, cost effective, I'll put it nicely, defense that's really overachieved. It's definitely underachieving now. They've been conceding multiple goals on a pretty regular basis. And then, like I said, with Voltmata, with the midfield that they have, Guimaraes and Joe Ellington being able to provide and create, I think there's going to be goals in this. I think it's going to be a very entertaining game for a neutral. I still think Sunderland can keep up. I don't, I think, Newcastle's fragility in the back line will give Sunderland options, especially on counter. So I like the over 2.5 in this.
Okay. Yeah, and we've seen it a couple of times in their matches. Right, the Arsenal was a 2-2, so they can score on these bigger teams. I mean, Arsenal's barely conceded all year. They scored 2 on them, so that's impressive in itself. Yeah, I think this will be an entertaining one. I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of glad it's the early Sunday match, so like it's not in the middle of the day when NFL's on or busy doing stuff with the family. Because I think it'll be an entertaining watch, and I hope it lives up to it because I think rivalries like this are what make soccer special, right? Or football, if you want to call it that, since it's in England. But these are the derbies that they don't get as much publicity as maybe like a Manchester derby or something. But I think the intensity sometimes is even more so. Especially for a fan base like Sunderland, just back in the Premier League, and you haven't had a real one in a Premier League match. I know we had the cup one, like I mentioned a couple of years ago, but a real Premier League match with these two teams in almost a decade.
Yeah. And to answer John's question here, when do players leave for AFCON? I believe it is after this weekend. Most countries are scheduling their friendlies for the week after. So I know, Salah, for example, is leaving after this weekend, and I remember actually seeing Sunderland had kind of confirmed that most of their players would be around for the derby, which is good.
I think, I think after Sunday they're supposed to leave. I know Roma because they have the Monday match against Como was trying to get Ndika and I know to stay around for an extra day. So I think all the African players I think would be available this weekend in the Premier League and Serie A at least through Sunday.
Yeah, I do have one player prop. You already talked about him, Granit Xhaka. Has a goal or assist in 3 of Sunderland's last 4 home games. So I like that. I'm looking at I saw his assist was plus 75 to score or assist. Ooh, where is he? He's got to be down there. Why am I not seeing Granit Xhaka goal or assist in this? Oh, there he is, plus 350. So yeah, he's way down there.
Yeah.
I would take that. He's been performing really well in the Stadium of Light, and in a big game as a Premier League, as the guy with the most Premier League experience on that squad, you have to need him to step up.
All right. Yeah, should be a fun one. So let's run through the Premier League. Saturday we kick off with a couple matches. We've got Chelsea, Everton, Liverpool, Brighton. Then you got that followed by Burnley, Fulham, and Arsenal, Wolves. Anything you like there on Saturday?
Man, I cannot touch the Fulham Burnley game in good conscience, because everything would lead me to betting on Fulham getting a couple of goals and getting them money line, but I don't like them on the road that much, and we've been burned by Fulham before, so I'm going to leave that alone. I don't love the line in Chelsea Everton. I think Chelsea are going to rebound, but having a midweek game, whereas Everton's been resting, do you really want to give up the juice that they have there? Do you really want to take a team total like Chelsea have against a team like Everton? It's kind of gross. So don't love either of those.
Put my money.
I think you could. You're going to hate this, coach. I think you could talk me into Brighton plus half a goal.
I mean, it's paid for you like every time, right?
It's sitting there at plus 115. Liverpool have not figured out their offense yet. I think the defense is slowly coming together a little bit. But even against Inter, after that first 20 minutes, the offense was really stagnant. They kept going back to their cycling of possession. When they had possession in counter, they weren't very quick, even with Ekitike and Isak both playing. You could tell that those two hadn't really played in a system where they're playing off each other that much. I think they played something like 63 minutes in 5 matches prior to that. So I don't really know where this is going to end up with the starting lineup. It's been told that Salah is not going to be included in this one again. So I'm guessing that means Gakpo will be back in some variety. And Wirtz has a knock. So how much he's going to play in this remains to be seen. So I don't love Liverpool getting a lot of goals here. And their defense hasn't really, aside from this intermatch, inspired confidence. So I don't mind Brighton at plus half a goal here. I think they're more than capable of getting a goal or two, and that would be really hard for Liverpool to overcome.
All right. Yeah, I know. Obviously, that Arsenal match completely unbettable.
Can't touch that.
Clean sheet, minus 215 for a clean sheet. So, yeah, we're not going there.
That's okay. Sunday has a lot of good matches.
Yeah. Hey, I was just going to say, let's jump to Sunday because that's where there's some lines that are very playable. We've got Palace hosting City. City minus 120 the money line. West Ham hosting Villa. Villa's even money. My eyes immediately went there as I was looking through. We talked about Sunderland, Newcastle. You've also got Forest hosting Spurs. Both teams have big money, numbers in the money line, and Brentford hosting Leeds.
Yeah, you mentioned one, but my first inclination with Crystal Palace was taking them draw no bet against Manchester City at home. Crystal Palace have been a tough team for Manchester City in recent years. City don't have a great record against them. They've dropped points against them in 3 of the last 6 games. I think this Crystal Palace team, even with all that they've lost, remains a pretty difficult opponent. I know the tough thing is that they still have their Conference League match to play tomorrow. So City will have an extra day's rest. So that's maybe a little bit of concern, but it's been a house of horrors for City. It's been a house of horrors for Liverpool. It's just been a really tough place to play for any of these top 4 type clubs, even when Crystal Palace haven't been in the, top 6, top 7 form that they've been in for the last, year and a half. So I don't mind Crystal Palace draw no bet in this one. I think the line is good enough, and I think City will really struggle to get 3 points in this one.
All right. Yeah, that's a tough team to play at, but we'll see. I mean, that whenever you see City around minus 120, it's an attractive number. But you mentioned the history there. Playing at Palace for these teams has been tough. Yeah, for me, the bet of the day right there is Aston Villa. If they stay even money or lock them in at even money now, I mean, I know they play tomorrow in Europa, but they've just been so good. 7 straight wins they've rattled off. They're now up to 3rd in the table, only 3 off of Arsenal after beating Arsenal last week, right?
Yep.
This is an Arsenal team that doesn't lose much. You're playing a West Ham team that has conceded 29 goals in 15 matches. They're 2nd or 3rd from the bottom, so they're in 18th. They're in the relegation zone right now. And with them playing so poorly and Wolves being so bad, we might see a couple teams stay up that were down last year, right? Aside from Sunderland, Leeds has a really good chance of staying up if they can get a couple results here and there. I shouldn't say really good because they're only 2 off the drop right now, but they're they're getting help from these teams like Wolves and
they've looked
West Ham.
decent, right? Like I
Yeah,
think with a lot of these teams have been really promoted. Like you can tell watching the games that they're in a different league. Like it's two
yeah,
just different levels of competition. But Leeds have looked fine. They only scored 3 against Liverpool and came back against them after being down 2-0. That's tough to do for a
yep.
newly promoted side coming in against a club the size of Liverpool, conceding 2 goals and then still managing to get a result in all that. So they certainly have the ability to withstand a lot.
Yeah, so definitely like that Villa money line. Team total also attractive at -115, considering the way West Ham gives up goals. I don't hate that either.
Mhm.
Um, so I do like that play. What
I
do you
have
think?
yeah. Are you wait? Where are you going to go? Spurs?
I was gonna say, what do you think of Spurs? They're plus
Yeah. Okay.
175 on the money line. I don't think I go money line with the way they've been
No,
up and down, but I mean
I
that's a
have a
big number at a struggling Forest side.
I have a weird take on this one. I love the draw in this. This game screams draw to
Yeah.
me. I don't think Spurs have enough to get 3 points against Forest on the road, but to see, it's just I don't have a whole lot of confidence still in this Forest team. I know they've been playing a little bit better. I mean, the bar there is very low, but they've been playing a little bit better in the past few weeks. I just don't see either team getting 3 points in this. And with plus 230, it's low for the draw line, right? Like that's sometimes we see
Yeah.
that in Italy where, you have like a club like Udinese who's
Yeah.
just been rattling off draws. I think this is a draw game, and I think the books know it. I think they're trying to get people to go one way or the other, and I think this is going to be like a 1-1, just nothing fest.
Yeah, which is why if I were to take either side, I'm going draw no bet here. Because I
Yeah,
think there's too
for
much
sure.
risk of a draw. Spurs coming off a nice win today against Slavia at home, expected, but 3-0. Beat Brentford 2-0 last week, and then the draw the prior week against Newcastle. So three in a row unbeaten. Forest, obviously up and down. They got hammered by our Everton last week, 3-0.
Yeah.
So I lean draw no bet on Spurs, but I see where you're going with the actual draw. It's something I just don't really bet a lot, but maybe I should more often.
Both teams will
Just
be
not
tired
fun.
too.
Yeah.
Both have midweek games. Forest play
This is true too. I
Utrecht
forget.
tomorrow,
Yeah, that's true.
so
They also play tomorrow. Yeah.
and they'll be a little tired. I think this is
Yeah.
going to be a sloppy game. Like I said, nothing fest. I like the draw on this. I feel like this is, if you want a better draw line, if you're a guy like Nick that likes betting draw lines, that's a good one to take.
Yeah. A couple more matches before we swing over to Italy. Brentford, Leeds, United, Bournemouth. Anything there?
I think Leeds is a letdown game. Like I just said, had a great match against Liverpool at home. Now they have to go on the road to Brentford. Probably drop their levels a little bit. I think Brentford can get 3 points here, plus 100 money line. I'm happy with. I think I'd take that.
Yeah.
And
And
then
and
United
anything on
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth? Yeah.
I think you got to take Bournemouth on this. Another guy that's got his another manager that has his seat very warm is Ruben Amorim. Thought they were going to kind of get out, of their little struggles for a little bit there in early November, late October, but kind of struggling again. Bournemouth have kind of picked it up after a slower start. Bournemouth, draw no bets plus 185. I mean, what's the spread? Can we get a half a goal? It's minus
Ballsy, Scott.
115.
I mean, Bournemouth hasn't won in 6. They've got 4 losses and 2 draws
But it's
in their
United,
last
man.
6. Are
It's
they
it's
getting the
United
win?
in a primetime game. Like I
Mhm.
can see the pundits sitting there and discussing. I can see Gary Neville's face, getting very frustrated. I feel like, all right, fine. I'll take Bournemouth plus half a goal. It's minus 115. You talked me into that.
Yeah, I think you got to go the plus half a goal. I do think if you're going to play them in some way, you need the cash on the draw
Yeah,
because
fair
it's a
enough.
team that hasn't won in 6.
Fair enough.
All
You
right,
talked me
let's
into it.
swing over to Serie A. Let's pull up the what we need here. All right, so
No real marquee game this weekend.
no, I think the biggest match marquee wise, and they're the 2 latest ones in the weekend. Sunday, my eyes went right to Bologna Juve. That's a pretty big one.
Yeah,
In
you're
terms
you're
of like,
skipping over Fiorentina Verona though.
well, yeah, we'll get back to that one.
Okay.
Big for different reasons.
Yeah.
But I think this one, especially Bologna, because they've been solid this year. We've talked about it, right? They're sitting 5th in the table. Could have actually leapfrogged Roma into the top 4 on goal differential if they had gotten the result last week. They did not. Ended up drawing instead of winning, I believe. But they've been good. Juve is sitting down there 2 points below them in 7th. Spalletti trying to get them back into that Champions League mix. A win here for Bologna at home goes a long way in kind of deterring Juventus from that top 4 spots, maybe even top 5, which could also be a Champions League spot in Italy. Bologna does have to play tomorrow. They play Europa League, so they're going to be less rested than Juve, who played today. Um, but it is certainly one that I am leaning Bologna. I mean, I would take the protection of the draw no bet, but like part of me is like, does Juve inspire me enough
No.
after losing to Napoli last weekend? I know their results prior to that, they've been unbeaten for a while now, but I mean, look who they've beaten. They beat Paphos today, Udinese in the Coppa Italia, Cagliari, Bodo, draw against Fiorentina, draw against Torino. So yeah, like they're not losing matches, but there's no real marquee win there.
No, and I think, to your point, does Juve inspire confidence? You can stop the sentence there. The answer is no,
Yeah.
right? They
This
pulled out a
Bologna
win against
beat Napoli.
Paphos. They just beat Paphos 2-0 in a very uninspiring form, right? Like this is a team that should be kind of, putting their stamp on each game that they play against some of those lesser, league teams in Europe, and they're just not doing that. So yeah, Bologna at home. You're not even trying to put distance on Juventus. You got a Como team that's been kind of not sneaking up on people, but doing really well. Just got smacked against Inter, has a tough match now against Roma. Put a little bit of distance between that team too, right? Because if you're talking about guys that are going to upset the traditional top 4, Bologna and Como are the 2.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big opportunity for them to, one, at home, get 3 points on a top 4 rival like Juve in direct form, and then 2, perhaps take advantage of a tough matchup for their other rival in Como. It's a big weekend for Bologna. I think they gotta perform here.
Yeah, and you talk about draw lines being like really close to the money line, plus
205.
205 on the draw line.
It's tough.
I could definitely see that coming, but I don't know if I want to lay for a plus 205 on a draw line, right? Like,
so yeah, maybe Bologna draw no bet minus 105.
I think draw no bet minus 105 is where I go here.
The under 2.5 is minus 160, so that tells you if you get a goal in this one, you got to feel pretty good about your pick in a draw no bet situation.
Yeah. I mean, shot on target. I don't know how many shots on target we're going to get in this one, but like I look at Ricardo Orsolini, Nick's boy, minus 135 if he starts. Like that's a nice little parlay piece. Maybe you take him and another shooter somewhere across Italy, like just to get yourself a plus money number. This is one where if you get the right combination of a couple guys, you might be able to get something just on a player prop without even taking a goal score or something.
Yeah,
like you could take Yildiz and Orsolini for plus 166. Just spitballing here as I look at some of these lines that aren't that bad for shot on target. Sometimes guys like that, you shot on target at minus 200, whatever, but they're both fairly playable in a little parlay.
Yeah, man, I was just looking at like the money line total parlay, and it's just like there's nothing there. Even if you went if you did Bologna or tie, so Bologna double chance and under 2.5, it's still minus 105. So just take the draw no bet at that point.
Yeah. At that point, just take the draw no bet because you don't want to get screwed on at 2-2 or something like that. The other big one is actually on Monday. It's Roma hosting Como. Lovely for me when they play on a Monday after a Thursday. Not easy to watch these matches. Roma's plus 105 at home. Como plus 250. You mentioned they're coming off that big loss to Inter.
Smacked. Worst match of the season for them, I'd say.
By far, because they hadn't really conceded much at all prior to that, right? Even with those 4 conceded, they have only conceded on the season 11.
They did have the highlight of Nico Paz breaking Lautaro's ankles. Did you see that? That's been all over Twitter. He just kind of did like a little half turn, and Lautaro, I think, just slipped, honestly. And
he'll be back at Real Madrid next year.
So that it's like one of the greatest PR moves I've seen. They get smacked, and then that's the only clip I've been seeing of the game on Twitter. It's like,
it's a good way to deflect, right? Deflect from the fact you lost 4-0 to Inter.
We got this. It's like, all right.
Yeah, this is a big one though, because like you said, Como has them been sneaking up at people. People knew they'd be kind of like a sneaky spoiler in the mix team, right? And now they're only 3 off Roma. Roma's got back-to-back defeats now after losing to Cagliari after getting the red card early in the second half. They went down 1-0 on like an 80th or so minute goal. That's always a tough place for Roma to go to, and it turned out to be it again after losing to Napoli the week before. They've got Europa League tomorrow at Celtic. Celtic team that's kind of in transition. So for me, before I bet this match, I have to see how they perform tomorrow against Celtic. They already went to Glasgow, won to beat Rangers. I think Roma has to beat Celtic tomorrow just to kind of right the ship going into this one. Como was tough on Roma last year, and I'm not super confident if I don't see a much better performance from Roma tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, Nick is not here, so I'll do Nick's play for him. He didn't say this, but I'm going to put words in his mouth. This is going to be a play of the season for Nick. He would be going all in on Roma at home money line because Como have finally proven that they are frauds, which means Nick is correct. Roma is now going to go on a nice run. They're going to rattle off some wins here going into the end of the season or end of the new year, and position themselves right in the mix for that, Scudetto race for the second half of the season, just kind of like we all predicted with our future way back in the beginning of the season. So
Would be lovely. Music to my
Roma,
ears, Scott.
Roma about to get hot, and they're going to start it with the frauds that are Como. These are all Nick's words, not mine. Play of the season, Roma money line.
Yeah, this is tough for Nick. Like he hates Roma, right? Because he's a Lazio fan, but then he also
he loves
hates
betting on
Como.
them.
Yeah,
He
does love
loves betting
on
on them.
He's got the emotional hedge going there because if
You
they
give Roma
win,
a plus
he gets
number
money
against
out.
Nick's arch nemesis Como, it's a play of the season for him. He'll be all over this. I guarantee it. And it's on Monday, right? So he's just going to be sitting at home,
Monday
working,
Night Football. Yeah,
watching this game.
Yeah. I wish we all had that luxury, right? All right. So just a quick rundown. You can stop if you like something. We've got Lecce Pisa. I'm not going
Banned.
there.
The Pope Pius IX has let me down for the last time.
Yeah.
Let me just say that. He's
Torino
let me down for the last time.
on the early Saturday match is interesting to me because Cremonese has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Torino has been up and down. They've beaten good teams, right? They beat Roma, they beat Napoli, they pulled out a draw against Juve. And when I say good teams, bigger name clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Cremonese though has been tricky. I mean, they have been hard for some of these teams. I know you have a play you like their player prop, right?
Yeah, I love Vardy, right? I think Vardy has been kind of, an unsung hero a little bit in Serie A so far. It's been a slower start, but he's getting hot now. His line, what was it? It was minus 125. Is that what you said?
135,
135
for a shot on target.
Give me a shot on target. Little Vardy party. It's not a juicy number, but it's got to hit.
Yeah, I
Torino they just conceded 3 to Milan, right? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They blew that game, right? They were winning that match and blew it.
Yeah, they were up 2-0, and then all the wheels fell off when Nick's second favorite player, Adrian Rabiot, scored the opener for Milan.
God,
I think it was a good goal, though.
Yeah. Yeah, Torino losses in 3 straight, no wins in 6 straight. They haven't kept a clean sheet in 3. To me, I'm leaning, since it's such a big number, on a Cremonese side that's sitting in the top 10 right now. I mean, I'm going to look at double chance. I was going to say draw no bet, but that's plus 200. You can go double chance for, if I can scroll down and find it here. Double chance on Cremonese, minus 125. I don't hate it. I don't hate it on the road at Torino. Torino side that just fired their sporting director. Clearly, there's some internal turmoil there. I kind of like him on the double chance. And if you know what, Torino goes and wins at home, so be it. But I don't think they deserve minus 105 on the money line.
No, for sure not. Not after the last couple performances. Their defense has not been the Torino calling card that I've always kind of considered with them for at least the last 3 or 4 years. So, you can take Cremonese on the road, double chance in this match and not feel bad about it.
Yeah. Nick's boys, Lazio plus 105 on the road at Parma. He's going to say no way they get a second result in a row after they drew Bologna last week.
But is Parma going to get a second result in a row?
Right. Exactly.
Like, who's more likely to get a result? Maybe this is a draw then. Maybe both teams go home.
Plus 215. Yeah, these draw lines in Italy, man. Plus 190, plus 205. I mean, the draw line is shorter than the Pisa money line in that first match that we mentioned.
Crazy.
Atalanta Cagliari, very juiced Atalanta's way. Milan minus 260 hosting Sassuolo.
I have a double play, if you will.
Okay.
If you take both Milan clubs, so AC Milan, Inter Milan, and parlay those money lines together, it's plus 102. AC Milan at home to Sassuolo, Inter on the road to Genoa. Who's dropping points in those?
I mean, the more likely one would be Inter, but are they really dropping points? I don't think
they're going to have 2 losses in a row, and they just lost to Liverpool in midweek.
Yeah, I don't think
they bounce back.
Yeah,
so that's
Genoa's gotten, I think, 8 points in the last 4, but it's a different beast here facing Inter. So yeah, I plus 102. That's a solid number to get 2 clubs that are pretty big favorites.
Yeah.
Napoli on the road at Udinese, minus 120, coming off a loss today.
Yeah.
John says not a big game, so Inter will win.
Well done.
Udinese hanging around in 11th. They're kind of up and down. They do concede. They've
Yeah.
conceded 22 and 14. I think this is a get right spot for Napoli, right after losing today, minus
You
120.
know, you think they would. I don't want to call this kind of like it's not necessarily a must-win game for Napoli, but I think if they start dropping points
Yeah, when you
pretty
consider
regularly,
Milan's not playing in Europe, they've got a nice match at home this week that they should win. Yeah,
and you know how much I love to make fun of Conte in January, and that's right around the corner.
yeah,
So it's like you kind of got to carry some positive momentum going into that month. And if you start dropping points left and right now, I think it's going to be a
yeah.
tough situation come January. So I think they can get the win here. I think they'll get a couple goals. The only thing that concerns me is that Udinese loves a draw. So
Yeah,
that's
they
the
do.
one
They do
concern.
love a good draw.
Only 3
Yeah.
this year though. So maybe they've kicked that habit. They've been a good draw team for me the last 2 years. Only 3 this year. Nick would say they're due. I'm going to say Napoli get the win.
Okay. Do I want to go to the Bundesliga here since we've covered all of Italy? Man, this for I almost tweeted
Did
last week how
we talk
much I
Fiorentina Verona?
I completely we skipped over that one. Oh my god,
You
we did
did.
skip over that one. Jeez.
I was like, did
So
I
we've
miss
got
this?
we've got the I never thought I'd say this in December 10th, that a Fiorentina Verona match would be a relegation special. Like, what has happened in Florence? I do not know. They are not I was gonna say not unbeaten, winless through 14 matches. No team that's ever gone 13 matches in Serie A has stayed up. But this is like, and they're not they're not a Milan club. They're not Juve. They're not, but they're a solid club. They're one
They
of
got
the
good players.
seven sisters right there.
They
Yeah,
got good
they've got
players.
good players. They have no wins in 9, and the win prior to that came in obviously conference because they haven't won the Serie A yet. So, I mean, you're facing a Verona team that actually got a solid win against Atalanta last week, their first of the season, moved
Yeah.
themselves out of the bottom, and now 3 points out of Fiorentina, who's on 6, because both teams have 6 draws, and Verona's got the extra win to go with it. I mean, Fiorentina's conceded 24 and 14. That is, as I quickly scroll through, the second worst defense in the league.
Yeah.
Only Torino has conceded more. So yeah,
Oh.
Scott, there's your Torino's no
That's
longer
sad.
on their team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's sad.
It
Hurts me.
John
All right,
says
look,
will be the final time he bets Fiorentina.
at the risk of being reductive, I think this comes down to, do you think Fiorentina get their win in match 15? If you do, it's minus 125. If you don't, double
If they
chance for
don't
Verona
win
is
this-
minus 105.
If they don't win this, when does the panic set in?
Oh, the panic has been set in for
It's got to be, right? It's got to be.
Weeks.
So, like, this would be like the.
I mean, when you're sitting there
tipping
and you
point, I
are
feel like.
7 points back of Lecce for safety,
Yeah.
panic is set in.
Yeah, it's
You're
up to
almost
7.
halfway through the season.
Didn't realize they got up to 7 already. Yeah, up to 7.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that might save them if they could get on a little heater of like 3 or 4 wins in a row is that, like, some of these clubs that are ahead of them are like Parma and Lecce. They're not really that good.
Yeah.
Torino obviously hasn't been that good either, but man, it's starting. The gap is starting to build a little bit. And if you lose to Verona, then you're 6 behind Verona.
If you lose to Verona at home, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is a must win. We talk about must win. This is a must win. You can't be, getting a 1-pointer off of this, right? Like, you got to get
it's gotta be 3
3.
points.
You got to get yourself positioned so that you're now within 4 points of the drop zone and maybe have a little bit of momentum. But I don't know how you can bet on a team that is winless in 14 straight to get their first win, especially when it is shorter odds than the alternative. I think you got to take Verona double chance. Minus 105.
Okay.
That's going to be my play. I got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I could trust Fiorentina. They're winless in 14 matches.
Can't do it.
Insane.
Can't do it.
All right.
Won't do it.
So as I was saying, I almost tweeted out prior to Saturdays when most of the Bundesliga matches are, like, how much I love that Bundesliga slate. I had about 4 or 5 plays in. I hit one of them, and it was just the Bayern over because they ended up putting up 4 goals. I had the over 3.5 in that match. Everybody let me down on Saturday that I liked. If I look at last week's matches, I could tell you all of them probably off the top of my head here. Let's see who screwed me last week. So Nick and I did hit Mönchengladbach on Friday 1-0. Freiburg let me down at Heidenheim, who's been terrible. Cologne blew a 1-0 lead and drew. They let me down. Leverkusen was my big letdown because they had a pretty decent number on them, and they played like absolute shit and lost to Augsburg 2-0. So my Bundesliga record last week went down the tubes a bit because the Bundesliga has been pretty good to me. But I look at the first match of the weekend on Friday. And Friday was good to me last week. Leipzig has been good. No losses in 4. Union, one of those teams that I also looked at last week and had a little drawn-out bet on them. They played terrible. I don't know how I can't ride Leipzig at even money. They're sitting second in the table behind Bayern. I think you have to.
I think you gotta. I think that's the one that stuck out to me. Over 3 right now for Frankfurt is sitting at -115. I think that's got to be played. They leak goals like nobody else. So
yeah, and Augsburg should come in with a little momentum after beating Leverkusen at home last week, right? That's got to be count for something.
Yeah, I'm seeing the over is 9-4 right now in Frankfurt games. So
yeah,
I'll take
they
that.
tend to go over. Occasionally they have that under, but it's been a lot. And when it's over, it's over. Like they go way over. Mönchengladbach, Wolfsburg. This is an interesting one. I'm gonna just double check something here. I kind of like Mönchengladbach at home. Wolfsburg hasn't been great. No clean sheet in 6. The overs hitting 4 out of 5 over 2.5. I'm like I mentioned, Mönchengladbach coming off the road win at Mainz. Not that Mainz is great, but they've also gotten results in let's see, the Bundesliga. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight matches without a loss. 4 of those 5 were wins. So that's a play I'm looking at there on Saturday morning. -105 at home, kind of like that.
Do you think Dortmund can beat Freiburg on the road?
I do.
They're sitting there at +110.
Yeah, that was the next one I was just looking at. They let me down today, though, those bastards. Like against Bodo of all teams. Bodo just coming back to haunt me, even not when it's Roma. Yeah, I mean they should, right?
You think they would? You think that they would be able to get a pair? So let me see. Let me see if I can get a playable team total for you.
I mean, they
-105.
Do you 8 on Freiburg last year?
Do you think you okay? My over 1.5 is -105. So you're not giving up too much on the money line there. You're gonna give up 15 cents.
I would probably go that direction if you're gonna take them. Yeah,
there
just because Freiburg, I feel like at home maybe they could pull something out, but I think they've been conceding goals, so I think I think Dortmund could get to the 2 there. You could take Bayern -1200 on Sunday morning.
Yeah, that you can take LeBron to get 10+ points for his 1400th straight game, right? That's kind of the cool thing to do.
Stuttgart. I gotta see what they're doing here. They're also playing Europa League tomorrow, though. Stuttgart. I'm trying to remember what they did last weekend. At Bremen. Bremen's no wins in 3. Oh yeah, that's right. They got run over by Bayern, and they host Maccabi Tel Aviv tomorrow. Yeah, I don't like it enough to go there. Maybe a team total. I would maybe look team total with Stuttgart. They tend to score when they're not playing Bayern, at least. But yeah, I think the Leipzig one is the one you got to take. If I had a favorite Bundesliga play of the weekend, it's got to be the Leipzig at even money.
I'm going to need your rational thinking to talk me off a play in La Liga.
Okay.
I really want to take Alaves at home +1, -125 against Real Madrid. When the wheels fall off, the wheels are off. Have the wheels really fallen off at Real Madrid at this point?
I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll find out this weekend. They're really off.
I'm looking at games where Alaves did not cover +1, and so far it's just Barcelona. Yeah, it's literally only Barcelona. It's one game where they haven't covered +1 this season in La Liga. So I'm going to have to take that.
And guess what? Last season, they covered the +1 twice against Real Madrid. They lost by 1 goal both times.
And that's at home. I'm telling you, Real Madrid, things are not great. Going on the road again.
Not necessarily saying I'll take it with you, but I can see the rationale behind it.
I got to do it.
All right, so that's where it is. That's Scotty hoping the wheels fall off or continue to fall off so he can get Xabi Alonso at Liverpool.
I think there's going to be an announcement tomorrow. That's the only thing that you can say to talk me off is there's going to be a new manager bounce. So that's maybe the thing to keep an eye on.
He's bringing a legend home.
Can't wait. I look forward to
All
it.
right. We'll end it there. So we thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week.